Hello again, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with Lenny. We're going to talk today very briefly, following on the very emotional and really centering journey that we just had with our AARP friends. We're going to get a little bit into the data behind some of the research that we do. I'll introduce myself first. Nils Mueller. I am the director of the North America chapter of GASA. I've been doing that since this summer. And just to share a little bit about my background, how I got here. Before joining GASA, I was a U.S. Foreign Service officer for 20 plus years. Most recently, I was in Thailand for 4 years, where I oversaw our efforts with USAID and at the U.S. Embassy to disrupt, to disrupt the scamming industry. Over 4 years of working in Southeast Asia to fight back against the human trafficking and the scamming and the money laundering that is taking place in the region at a scale that just exploded in the 4 years that I was there, working with my embassy colleagues from law enforcement, State Department, all the whole of government alphabet. It radicalized me. This issue is too important to not work on. I wanted to dedicate my time to continue this fight. And so I'm honored to be here with all of you today, and specifically with Lenny this morning. Lenny, over to you.
Thank you, Nils. Hi, everybody. My name is Lenny Gusel. By way of introduction, I've been working in financial services technology for almost 30 years. And for the last 20 of them, I've really focused on online at the intersection of digital banking and fraud. I've had the opportunity to work with institutions like Bank of America and Chase, as well as Robinhood, and most recently in my role as Feedzai, I focus on bringing our solutions to the market and really working with our customers and working with the industry to really equip them and enable them to have the tools to fight back as best as possible. I'm here today because Feedzai has had the pleasure and the honor of sponsoring the GASA Global State of Scams report for the last 2 years. And we want to share a little bit today about what are some of the findings and really highlight some of the both the numbers as well as some of the key points of what does this mean and how do we understand and interpret this.
Excellent. Thanks, Lenny. So let's jump into it. We commission this research every year. And we look forward to continuing to do it, continuing to build it out. We want to have even more respondents. We want to have even more insights and impact. We do 46,000 respondents are driving this research across 42 markets. You see here the countries where we are surveying, and we oversample in the U.S. to get a bit more insights here. This is who we speak to globally. I won't go into it. It's just to say that it's a representative sample. And all right, let's get into some of the key numbers and takeaways from the Global State of Scams and U.S. State of Scams reports from 2025. What I want to highlight is that second number there, 70%. So we know that 7 out of 10 American adults have experienced a scam in the last 12 months. 7 out of 10. That's almost everybody. I mean, so the ubiquity of this experience is both alarming, but also an asset, meaning that we've all gotten those texts. We've all gotten those emails. This is something that actually brings us all together, and it's something that we want to draw on to galvanize us in finding solutions, because this is something that in a very polarized country, people can't really agree on very much. This is something people can actually agree on. We've all had this experience. The next number, 22%. So this is about global average, but essentially 1 out of 4 American adults have lost money to a scam or have had money stolen from them by transnational organized criminals. Okay, so let's frame that properly. This is a financial crime. It is something that needs to be taken seriously, and just building, it was so gratifying to hear Janine Pirro up here on the stage talking about this as a high-level government administration official saying this is a priority for this administration, for the US government, and that is music to my ears. It's so wonderful to hear that. What happens when people lose money to a scam? Well, 82% of American adults who are scammed do report that they have been scammed. But where do they report it to? It's not to the government agencies that collect this data. We know that only about 10–15% of Americans report to the FBI and the FTC. But where do they actually report? They report to their financial institutions or the payment platforms where they lost money. Well, that makes sense. If you've been scammed, you realize you've been scammed, you've had money stolen from you, one of the first things you're going to want to do is get that money back. So I think this is a really important starting point for finding solutions. Where do people already report that this is going on? How do we link that reporting that's actually happening with the systems in place or improved, enhanced systems in place that can better track the scale of this problem across the country? Moving to the next number, 67%. And that speaks to what we just heard about. 67% of American adults who have been scammed feel that it was very or somewhat stressful for them to go through that experience. I mean, 7 in 10. This speaks to the emotional toll of this crime. It is not just a financial crime, it is an emotional crime as well. Janine Pirro spoke about it as an economic homicide. I hadn't heard that term before, but that's an interesting way to frame this in a lot of instances. And then 35%. So who is responsible for solving this problem? And Americans here are divided. 35% actually is the highest number. That Americans say it's commercial organizations who have the lead responsibility on keeping people safe from scammers, primarily online platforms used by the scammer, okay? So that's noteworthy, but just below that number is the government, law enforcement agencies, and it takes a whole network. I think that's one of the themes we really want to emphasize here. Everybody has a role to play, every institution, every organization, every company who's here, we all have roles to play in helping solve this, this problem. One more data point that really stood out for me, 35% of American parents with a child aged 7 to 17 say at least one of their children has been scammed. That's just incredible to me. I mean, 35% of our kids are being exposed to this. It just speaks to how pervasive it is and how urgent it is to find solutions. These scammers, they're not only coming after us, they're not only coming after our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our neighbors, they're coming after our kids, and we have to do more to stop them.
So, moving on, looking at the report, looking at this slide, you see some statistics for the typologies of scams, prevalence of different typologies of scams. What stands out to me here is not so much of which one's a little bit more prevalent in any particular country, but the fact that there are such an abundance of different types of scams. The fact that there's a proliferation. The criminals have a lot of different tools, a lot of different tactics that they deploy against us, and they target different parts of the population in different ways. So what this is really saying to me is that there is a typology and there is a particular attack that's targeting every single one of us. And they, as much as we try to classify them, lots to say about classification, they keep proliferating and they keep morphing, and sometimes they overlap with one another, and sometimes there's more than one attack that's going on. So what I really take away from this is that it is, we know how pervasive the problem is, but it's quite diverse and quite complex. There's very significant difference of tactics and techniques, and of course the tools that the criminals use, and we just need to be aware that there's all range of possibilities for how people are being attacked, and then some of them victimized. Do I click? Oh, there we go. Did I go too far? Pardon me here, learning the clicker. What this slide is talking about is really the global nature of scams. Now, here in the United States, we talk about this extraordinary wealth transfer to transnational criminal organizations. And of course, if you look at the numbers from a United States standpoint, they're staggering in terms because the size and wealth of our country. But it's very important to also note that all of these typologies are at play globally. And we talk about it from a U.S.-centric perspective of how, as you heard Janine Pirro talk about, these transnational criminal organizations out there in the world that are targeting us. In fact, they're targeting the global population at large. It's relevant for many of us, like myself. Our Feedzai works globally with financial institutions to protect us. But it's important to note that it's developing countries in particular that oftentimes, at a per population basis or sort of per capita basis, are hit as much, if not even more, than the United States. This slide is very important because there's general understanding out there in the industry of how much the elderly and vulnerable population is targeted and how susceptible they are, and oftentimes because they have more funds, how much more money they're losing. We heard some of that today already on stage. But the reality, and it's very important, and the numbers really bring this out, is that every segment of the population is being targeted. The younger population is, in fact, if you study the numbers, often targeted more because they're very familiar with online and digital technologies. They're using these technologies all the time, and so in some ways their literacy with these technologies often actually makes them more susceptible, or susceptible in a different way. So the other important thing here is the level of education. So we joke, we even laughed as Yuri was talking about scamming, we think about, oh, well, I won't fall for this, or we won't fall for this, or people, and it's a horrible habit I hear very much of people talking about, well, people aren't very smart who fall for these things. I know, and I'm sure many people in this room know, very highly educated people. In fact, people in banking and even in fraud, anti-fraud technologies that are being scammed who know about these. It's very interesting to examine why, but it's important to really note that it is a whole of society problem, not just particular pockets of the population that are being targeted. And if we, to that, so this is a very interesting statistic that jumps out. So about 3/4 of the respondents say that they're very confident that they can spot a scam. This is very, if you contrast this to the numbers that says about 3/4 of the population has been in the face of a scam. But as many people feel that they actually feel that they know how to spot it. This speaks about I believe, an overconfidence that people have, that we need to understand that general population feels like they will not fall victim and that they know how to spot these things. We know that the reality is quite different. And as the slide points out, here in North America, that prevalence of people feeling that they know how to spot these things and that they won't fall for them is even higher. I will say I'm one of those people. I think I can't possibly fall for one of these things. I have. I bought some fantastic guitars from Facebook Marketplace that were so inexpensive, and as I was doing it, I thought, I'm not sure, but I really want that guitar. So it's it's minor. I didn't lose a lot of money, but it was a minor nuisance and a minor embarrassment, and even myself as a professional, knowing that I was potentially being scammed. People still go through with this. We're motivated by, in that situation, just kind of the desire or greed for something that we want to purchase, or whatever the motivation may be. People are much more susceptible than they think that they are. This statistic here really jumps out at me in terms of the fact that we have raised awareness. The population is highly aware of the fact that all of these scams are out there and proliferating. And in fact, so aware that almost all people take some kind of an action, take some kind of a step in order to verify, is this actually legit, before going through with a money transfer, a purchase, whatever types of scam that they're in the face of. So this is excellent that they are aware. However, we're just at the beginning, I believe, as an industry, of providing people the tools to take appropriate and effective actions. So people may be checking for misspellings, which are less and less out there because of generative AI. People may be looking for certain clues that they've been taught, but the raising the bar, and in fact I know many institutions are looking at how do they build tooling into their processes in order to have some kind of a dynamic way of intervening and giving people actual, concrete, actionable tasks to take before sending those funds, before making that payment. I think we have a ways to go, but it's encouraging to know that people are actively doing something, and therefore I think actively receptive to what else they can do and what else they should do. Before we kind of finish the slide, where I'll just kind of end here by saying this data is extremely valuable, and there was a significant part of the global population as well as the U.S. population. I think there was about 4,600 people in the United States that participated in the survey. The data is both very valuable and very interesting. There's lots to be drawn, but very importantly, we need more data. I strongly believe, and I think a lot of people in this room believe, that we need more research of this kind. We need more data. There are a number of efforts going on. You're going to hear from some here on the stage. I'll call out, Ken Westbrook and Stop Scams Alliance. It's really creating this kind of data set at a much larger level in the United States, because to drive the kind of action that we need, the kind of collective whole of society action that we need more research, and we need a much larger data set to understand how this is impacting the population, as well as what are the things that we're going to do in order to turn that tide.
Thanks, Lenny. And great segue, because what we also need is a strategy for what to do next. And that's what's coming up next. So thank you all for your attention. I will see you all later. And enjoy the rest of your morning and the day. Thanks very much.
Thank you.